Imagine stepping into a muddy village in the English Midlands, circa 1350, where the air smells of damp hay and wood smoke. You're a peasant. Your hands calloused from ploughing fields, your life bound to the land and its lord. Love, as you dream of it, feels like a distant star, beautiful but untouchable. Here, marriage isn't about your heart's desires. It's a contract, a tool for survival, approved by the Lord who owns your labour. You can't choose your spouse freely, sis. And private feelings? They're a luxury you can't afford. The family economy, tied to the harvest and the manor, dictates your future. Let's explore how strange and rigid medieval peasant dating was, where love bowed to obligation. You wake at dawn, the frost biting your toes through the straw-strewn floor of your family's wattle and daub hut. The village buzzes with gossip as you haul water from the well. You've noticed a certain someone, perhaps the miller's son, with his quick smile and strong arms, but dreaming of him is risky. Marriage here isn't your decision. The lord of the manor, perched in his stone hall, holds the reins. Every serf's marriage requires his nod, often sealed with a payment called merchet, a tax that could cost your family a year's worth of grain. Why? Because your union isn't just about you, it's about labour. A new household means more hands to till the Lord's fields, more mouths to feed from his harvest. Love, if it exists, is secondary to the manor's needs. Picture yourself at the village's annual harvest feast, the fire crackling under a starry sky. You steal glances at that miller's son, but your parents are already negotiating with another family. They've chosen a match for you, a widower, perhaps, with a small plot of land to merge with your family's. You protest, your heart pounding, but your father's voice is firm. This keeps us fed. The Lord's steward, a stern man with a ledger, oversees the betrothal. You're too young, too shy, to argue, and besides, defiance could mean a fine or worse, eviction from the manor. The ceremony, if it happens, is a simple vow before the church door, witnessed by neighbours. No flowers, no romance, just a binding promise to work and survive together. This system raises a question. Did peasants ever find love under such constraints? Historians argue it's possible. Some couples, bound by duty, grew fond over years of shared toil, yet others suggest love was a privilege reserved for the wealthy, who could afford to flirt with poetry and passion. The open-ended debate lies in whether these arranged unions crushed emotional bonds or fostered a different kind of love, one rooted in mutual survival rather than romance. You might imagine stolen moments by the river, a whispered confession under the oak tree, but such acts were rare and risky. A serf's heart was never fully their own. Let's dive into a surprising event that illustrates this world's strangeness. In a village like yours, around 1360, a young woman named Alina dared to love a travelling tinker, a man outside the manor's control. She met him secretly in the woods, her laughter muffled by the rustling leaves. But the Lord's men caught wind of it. Alina's family faced a crippling fine, and she was swiftly married to a local farmer to correct her rebellion. The tinker vanished, and Alina's story became a cautionary tale whispered among the villagers. This wasn't just about punishing love, it was about control. The Lord couldn't risk losing a worker to a wanderer who owed him nothing. You might feel the weight of this as you walk through the village, passing thatched roofs and pigs rooting in the mud. The wind carries the scent of baking bread, but there's no warmth in the thought of marriage. Your future spouse, chosen by others, will share your bed and your burdens, but not necessarily your heart. The church reinforces this, preaching that marriage is a duty to God and community, not a pursuit of personal joy. Yet, as you lie awake at night, the embers glowing in the hearth, you wonder, could you steal a moment of true affection? The risk is high, but the human spirit is stubborn. This system wasn't universal, even among peasants. Some villages allowed more choice, especially if the lord was lenient or distracted by war. But in the Midlands, control was tight. You might argue that this stifled human connection, turning marriage into a cold transaction, or perhaps it built resilience, forcing couples to find meaning in shared struggle. The academic debate lingers. Was this system dehumanizing, or did it redefine love as something practical, enduring and collective? There's no clear answer, but as you trudge through the village, You feel the tension between your heart and the world's demands. The sensory details of this life linger with you. The rough wool of your tunic scratches your skin. The church bell tolls, signalling another betrothal. You see the Lord's Hall on the hill, a reminder of who holds power. Marriage, in this world, is a chain linking you to the land, the Lord, and the future. Yet, in the quiet moments, when the wind whispers through the barley fields, you dream of something more, even if it's just a fleeting hope against the weight of obligation. You stand in the opulent halls of a French court, circa 1308, the air heavy with the scent of beeswax candles and lavender. Velvet tapestries drape the stone walls, and the clink of goblets echoes as nobles scheme. You are a young aristocratic girl, perhaps 7 years old, dressed in silk that feels too stiff for your small frame. Your marriage has just been sealed, not out of love, but to bind two warring houses. In the courts of Capet France and Plantagenet England, love is a dangerous whim, a threat to dynasties built on power. Here, daughters are pawns in a grand chess game, and you're about to learn how political marriages, like that of Isabella of France to Edward II, could spiral from strategy to tragedy. You're too young to grasp the stakes, but the adults around you are clear. Your betrothal to a foreign noble secures an alliance, perhaps staving off a war. The ceremony is a spectacle. Golden rings exchanged under a cathedral's soaring arches, your tiny hand trembling as you repeat vows you barely understand. The crowd murmurs approval, but their eyes are on the treaty, not you. Your new husband, likely a boy not much older, is a stranger. His title more important than his face. You're whisked away to his household, where you'll grow up under his family's watchful gaze, trained to be a dutiful wife. Love, it's a word for troubadours, not for you. Consider Isabella of France, married at 12 to Edward II of England in 1308. You imagine her stepping onto English soil, her breath catching at the chill of Dover's cliffs. The marriage was meant to end decades of Anglo-French conflict, uniting two crowns. But Edward's heart lay elsewhere, with his favourite, Piers Gaveston, whose influence sparked courtly scandals. Isabella, raised to be a queen, found herself sidelined, her youth and beauty irrelevant to a husband who prioritised politics and personal loyalties. By her 20s, she rebelled, leading an invasion against Edward with her lover, Roger Mortimer. Their story, whispered in the halls, shows how a marriage forged for power could ignite personal and political chaos. Did Isabella ever seek love, or was her rebellion purely pragmatic? Historians debate whether her actions stemmed from wounded pride or a calculated bid for power, leaving you to ponder if love could ever survive in such a gilded cage. You walk through the court, your slippers silent on the polished floor, passing knights in gleaming armour and ladies with jewelled headdresses. The air hums with intrigue. Every glance, every whisper, a move in the game. Marriages like yours are negotiated by parents and diplomats, often years in advance. A surprising event underscores this cold reality. In 1199, 8-year-old Blanche of Castile was betrothed to Louis of France to seal a peace treaty. Her dowry included lands her father couldn't afford to lose, and she was sent to France, never to see her family again. You imagine her clutching a doll, tears streaking her face as she boarded a ship, her childhood sacrificed for a king's ambition. The deal held peace for a decade, but at what cost to Blanche? This system raises an academic question. Did these early marriages destroy personal agency, or did they empower young women like Isabella and Blanche to wield influence later in life? Some argue these girls were victims, stripped of choice, and thrust into roles they couldn't refuse. Others suggest that, as queens or duchesses, they learned to manipulate the system, turning political marriages into platforms for power. The debate is open-ended. Did the system crush their spirits, or did it forge them into formidable players? You feel the weight of their lives as you stand in the draughty hall, the fire's warmth barely reaching you. The sensory details of this world pull you in. The rustle of your silk gown, the flicker of torchlight on gold embroidery, the faint scent of incense from a nearby chapel, all reminders of your role as a living contract. You hear minstrels sing of courtly love, but their songs mock your reality. Love, if it exists, is a private rebellion, a stolen glance across a banquet table. Yet even that carries risk. Adultery or defiance could mean disgrace or worse. The church looms large, preaching that marriage is sacred, but here it's a transaction, your heart a footnote in the ledger of power. You might wonder if any noble woman found happiness in these unions. Some, like Blanche, grew into their roles, ruling with cunning and strength. Others, like Isabella, turned betrayal into a weapon. But most, they endured, their dreams of a love buried under the weight of duty. The court's grandeur, its feasts, its music, can't mask the truth. You're a piece on a board, moved by hands not your own. Yet, as you gaze out a window at the moonlit gardens, you wonder if a spark of defiance, like Isabella's, could one day be yours. You wander through a draughty northern French castle, circa 1250, the stone walls damp with mist, the air sharp with the scent of burning tallow. You're a girl of 12, your breath visible in the chill, your body barely grown into the heavy linen gown you wear. In this world, childhood is a fleeting shadow. Girls your age are thrust into marriage, expected to bear children before they've even mastered needlework. The risk of death in childbirth looms large, claiming 1 in 10, sometimes 1 in 4. You hear whispers of Marguerite de Montlert, a girl like you, whose life ended in agony 3 days into labour. And if you're a second son, your fate is no less grim. Forced into the church, your right to marry stripped away. Love and choice are luxuries neither girls nor spares can afford. You're led to a chamber where your betrothal is sealed, your parents' voices low as they discuss dowries with a neighbouring lord. The groom, perhaps a man twice your age, eyes you like livestock, his breath sour with ale. You're too young to understand the mechanics of what comes next, but the women's hushed warnings about childbirth haunt you. The castle's midwife, her hands gnarled from years of deliveries, mutters prayers as she prepares herbs. Marguerite's story lingers in the air like smoke. In 1290, at 13, she wed a knight in a hurried ceremony, her family eager for his title. Pregnant within a year, she laboured for days, her cries echoing through the manor until silence fell. Her death, common yet tragic, was mourned briefly before the knight remarried. You feel the weight of her fate, your own body trembling at the thought of what's expected. Childbirth in this era is a gamble, with no physicians to ease the pain, only midwives and superstition. You imagine the straw-strewn birthing room, the flicker of a single candle, the suffocating fear as labour stretches on. Obstetric mortality, historians estimate, range from 10 to 25%, higher for girls barely past puberty. Your mother, her face lined with worry, tells you to pray to St. Margaret, patron of childbirth, but even saints seem distant. The church, ever present, insists marriage and motherhood are your divine duties, yet offers no comfort for the risks. You wonder, how did girls cope, knowing each pregnancy could be a death sentence? The academic debate swirls. Did these early marriages rob girls of agency, or did surviving them forge resilience, even power, in those who lived? A surprising event underscores this harsh reality. In 1320, a 12-year-old English girl, Joan of Kent, was married to a soldier in a rushed ceremony to secure her family's lands. Pregnant by 13, she survived her first birth but faced 5 more before 20, each abrush with death. Her story, rare for its survival, spread through the countryside, her strength both admired and pitied. You picture her, pale and exhausted, clutching a newborn in a cold manor house, her childhood a distant memory. Her life raises questions. Was she a victim of her time, or did her endurance make her a quiet hero? The debate persists, with no clear answer, as you grapple with the cost of stolen childhoods. If you're a second son, your path diverges but is no less confining. Picture yourself as a boy in an English manor, your older brother destined to inherit. By 14, you're sent to a monastery, your hair shaved into a tonsure, your dreams of a family buried under Latin chants. The church claims you, forbidding marriage to ensure the family's wealth isn't split. You might sneak glances at village girls during festivals, the smell of roasted chestnuts mingling with your longing, but vows bind you tighter than any betrothal. One boy, Thomas of Norfolk, in 1340 fled his monastery to marry in secret, only to be dragged back and punished with fasting and isolation. His rebellion, whispered among novices, shows the desperation to escape a life without love. The sensory details of this world cling to you. The creak of wooden stairs in the castle, the bitter taste of herbal tonics meant to strengthen you for motherhood, the distant toll of a church bell signalling another betrothal. You feel the coarse wool of your shift against your skin, a reminder of your youth, yet the weight of adult expectations presses harder. The church preaches that suffering in childbirth is Eve's legacy, but you wonder why your life must pay for ancient sins. The academic question lingers. Did this system, forcing girls into motherhood and boys into celibacy, destroy their spirits? Or did it shape them into survivors who found meaning in duty? As you stand in the castle courtyard, the wind carrying the scent of damp earth and hay, you imagine the lives cut short, the dreams deferred. Girls like Marguerite and Joan, boys like Thomas, their stories weave a tapestry of sacrifice. You might argue that this era crushed the young under its rules, or perhaps it taught them to find strength in endurance. The debate remains open, but as you watch a hawk soar above the turrets, you feel the ache of a childhood lost too soon. You kneel in a dimly lit chapel, circa 1300, the cold stone floor biting through your thin woolen dress. The scent of incense curls around you, mingling with the musty damp of Western Europe's churches. The church, at the height of its power, dictates every facet of life, including love. Canon law restricts intimacy to roughly 40 nights a year, tying your desires to a calendar of saints' days and fasts. Lust is branded a sin, and the very architecture of the time, narrow beds, communal sleeping halls, seems designed to curb it. Even physicians treat infatuation like a disease, prescribing bloodletting or fasting to purge your heart. You're caught in a world where love is both sacred and suspect, and you're about to see how tightly the church binds your heart. You share a bed with your new spouse in a crowded manor house, the straw mattress creaking under your weight. The church's rules hang over you like a heavy tapestry. Canon law forbids intimacy during Lent, Advent, Sundays, and numerous holy days, leaving you with fleeting moments for closeness. The priest's sermons echo in your mind. Physical desire is a path to damnation, unless strictly for procreation. You glance at your spouse, their breath warm in the chilly room, and feel a spark of longing, but the church's invisible bell tolls, warning you to restrain. Even the bed itself, narrow and placed in a communal hall, offers no privacy, as if the walls themselves enforce chastity. You wonder, how did couples navigate this maze of restrictions? A surprising event illustrates the church's grip. In 1295, in a small German town, a couple named Heinrich and Greta were publicly shamed for defying canon law. They were caught sharing a bed during Lent. Their laughter overheard by a nosy neighbour. The local priest ordered them to stand before the congregation, heads bowed, as he denounced their sinful lust. They were fined and forced to sleep apart for a month. Their bed inspected daily by church officials. You imagine Greta's flushed cheeks, the sting of humiliation, and Heinrich's clenched jaw as they endured the ordeal. Their story, whispered in taverns, shows how the church policed even the most intimate moments, turning love into a public affair. This raises an academic question. Did the church's strict rules suppress human connection, or did they foster a deeper, spiritual bond between couples? Some historians argue these restrictions crushed personal freedom, making marriage a joyless duty. Others suggest that navigating these rules together, stealing moments of affection despite the bans, strengthened couples' resilience and mutual trust. The debate is open-ended, leaving you to ponder whether love could flourish under such scrutiny. You feel the tension as you lie awake, the fire's embers casting shadows on the ceiling, your spouse's hand just out of reach. The church's influence extends beyond the bedroom. Physicians of the time, guided by church doctrine, treat lovesickness as a medical ailment. You visit a doctor, your heart racing for someone you can't have, and he prescribes bloodletting, the sharp sting of the lancet meant to drain your passion. Fasting follows, your stomach growling as you sip weak broth, the church's logic clear. A weakened body tames a wayward heart. You hear of a young woman, Clara of Tours, in 1320, who was bled until she fainted for confessing her love for a married man. Her story, murmured among village women, underscores the era's fear of unchecked desire. Love wasn't just sinful, it was dangerous enough to require medical intervention. The sensory details of this world envelop you. The chapel's wooden pews creak under your weight, the air thick with the scent of wax and old parchment. You feel the rough linen of your shift, the weight of a rosary in your hand, each bead a reminder of the church's rules, the distant chant of monks, the flicker of candlelight on stained glass, all reinforce the message: your desires are not your own. Yet, in quiet moments, you catch your spouse's eye across the room, a shared glance that defies the priest's warnings. Could such moments sustain a marriage, or were they too fleeting to matter? The church's architecture itself seems to conspire against you. In wealthier homes, beds are placed in open halls, surrounded by servants or family. In poorer ones, you share a single room with siblings or parents, privacy a foreign concept. Even the wealthy, with their curtained beds, face scrutiny from priests who preach that marital acts must be joyless, purposeful. You wonder if couples found ways to rebel, perhaps a stolen kiss in the shadow of a cloister, the taste of forbidden wine on their lips. The academic debate persists. Did these constraints kill romance, or did they force couples to find love in small, defiant acts? As you leave the chapel, the wind carries the scent of rain and earth, a reminder of the world beyond the church's walls. You feel the weight of its rules, yet also the stubborn pulse of your own heart. Love, in this era, is a battle against doctrine and design, and you're left wondering if it could ever win. You walk the muddy streets of London, circa 1349, the air thick with the stench of rotting refuse and fear. The Black Death ravages the city, bodies piled in carts, the wail of mourners mingling with the creak of wheels. Intimacy, in this plague-ridden world, is a gamble. Syphilis and gonorrhea lurk alongside the pestilence, turning a kiss into a roll of the dice. Thatched houses, crammed together and flammable, make wedding nights perilous, the flicker of a candle threatening to ignite more than passion. You navigate a world where love is shadowed by disease and danger, and every touch feels like tempting fate. You step into a tavern, the air smoky with burning herbs meant to ward off plague. Couples huddle in corners, their whispers urgent, their hands brushing despite the risks. The streets outside are a cesspool, garbage and sewage dumped directly into alleys, breeding diseases that make physical closeness a hazard. You've heard of lovers struck down by syphilis, their bodies marred by sores, or others felled by the plague's black boils. Yet desire persists, stubborn as the weeds pushing through the cobblestones. You wonder how anyone dares to love when a single night could mean death, not just from disease, but from the fragile, fire-prone homes where most trysts occur. A surprising event captures this tension. In 1350, in Flanders, a newlywed couple, Jan and Lisbeth, celebrated their marriage in a thatched cottage. The wedding night began with a feast, the scent of roasted mutton filling the air, but a candle, knocked over in their haste, sparked a fire that consumed the house. Neighbours doused the flames, but the couple emerged singed and shaken. Their joy turned to ash. The story spread, a grim reminder that even love's brightest moments could end in disaster. You imagine Lisbeth's trembling hands, Jan's soot-streaked face, their relief tinged with fear as they stood under the cold stars, their home reduced to smouldering straw. This raises an academic question. Did the constant threat of disease and disaster stifle love, or did it make fleeting moments of connection more precious? Some historians argue that the Black Death crushed romantic ideals, a survival trumped sentiment. Others suggest that the omnipresence of death heightened passion, urging couples to seize what little time they had. The debate remains open, leaving you to wonder if love in such a perilous world was reckless or redemptive. You feel the weight of this as you pass a plague pit, the earth freshly turned, the scent of lime sharp in your nose. The risks of intimacy extend beyond fire. Diseases like gonorrhea, untreatable in this era, spread through crowded towns. You hear of a young man in London, Willem, who in 1348 courted a baker's daughter, their stolen kisses sweet but dangerous. Within weeks, he was bedridden, his body racked by fever and pain, likely from syphilis. His fate, whispered among market stalls, became a cautionary tale. The church, ever watchful, preached that such afflictions were God's punishment for lust, yet couples still risked everything for a moment of closeness. You imagine their defiance, the warmth of a lover's touch against the chill of fear. The sensory details of this world cling to you. The crunch of gravel underfoot, the acrid smoke of burning plague corpses, the faint jingle of a leper's bell in the distance, all reminders of mortality. Your woolen cloak feels heavy with damp, and the taste of sour ale lingers from the tavern. Houses, with their straw roofs and wooden walls, creak ominously in the wind, a single spark away from catastrophe. You see lovers stealing glances in the market, their eyes bright with longing, but the shadow of disease and fire looms large. The church's warnings echo. Love is a sin, a risk, a path to ruin. Yet you sense the human spirit pushing back, defiant in its need for connection. The academic debate lingers. Did the Black Death's horrors make love a desperate act? Or did they imbue it with urgency and meaning? You might argue that fear smothered romance, turning it into a calculated risk. Or perhaps the plague's shadow made every touch a rebellion against death itself. As you stand in the rain-soaked street, the distant glow of a bonfire casting eerie light, you feel the pulse of life amid the chaos. Love, in this era, is a game of roulette, and you're left wondering if the thrill was worth the cost. You tread cautiously through a bustling English village, circa 1400, the air sharp with the scent of wood smoke and freshly tanned leather. The law here is unforgiving. Husbands can beat their wives with a stick no thicker than a thumb, a rule etched into local custom. Divorce is a distant dream, and fleeing an abusive marriage means starvation or homelessness. If you, as a woman, dare to strike back, you risk being hanged for treason against your husband's authority. Love, in this world, is a fragile hope, often crushed under the weight of legal violence and societal control. You're about to see how medieval laws shaped marriage into a cage for women, where survival demanded endurance. You're in a cramped, thatched cottage, the fire's glow casting shadows on the rough-hewn walls. Your husband, perhaps a blacksmith with hands like iron, looms over you, his temper flaring over a burnt loaf. The rule of thumb permits him to raise a stick, its diameter measured against his finger, to correct you. The village knows this law. Neighbours might wince at your cries but won't interfere. Escape is futile. Running away brands you a vagrant subject to arrest, or worse. You've heard tales of women found frozen in the woods, their flight from brutality ending in death by exposure. The law binds you tighter than any vow, and love, if it ever existed, withers under fear. A surprising event reveals the brutality of this system. In 1390, in a German town, a woman named Elsa fled her husband's beatings, seeking refuge in a nearby convent. The townsfolk, outraged by her defiance, dragged her back, accusing her of betraying her marital duty. She was whipped publicly, her cries echoing through the market square, and returned to her husband. Yet Elsa's story sparked whispers of resistance. Some women began hiding coins, dreaming of escape, though few succeeded. You imagine her standing tall despite the lash, her eyes defiant, the scent of blood and dust mingling in the air. Her courage, though punished, planted seeds of rebellion in others' hearts. This raises an academic question. Did these laws crush women's spirits, or did they foster quiet forms of resistance? Some historians argue that such violence entrenched submission, leaving women powerless. Others suggest that women found ways to cope, through subtle defiance, like sabotaging household tasks or seeking allies among kin. The debate is open-ended, leaving you to wonder if love could survive in a marriage built on fear. You feel the tension as you sit by the hearth, the crackle of logs a faint comfort, your hands trembling as you mend a torn cloak, knowing punishment could come without warning. The legal system offers no mercy. Divorce, controlled by the church, is nearly impossible, requiring proof of extreme cruelty or annulment on rare grounds. Like impotence, you hear of a woman, Agnes of York, in 1420, who begged for separation after years of abuse. The court dismissed her plea, citing her duty to obey. She vanished soon after, likely dead from hunger or exposure. Her story a grim warning. Running away means abandoning everything. Home, family, safety. You picture her trudging through a snowy forest, the wind biting her face, her heart heavy with the choice between suffering and survival. The sensory details of this world press against you. The coarse wool of your dress scratches your skin, the weight of an iron pot heavy in your arms. The village hums with life, children laughing, hammers clanging, but beneath it lies fear. The thud of a stick against flesh a familiar sound. The church preaches wifely obedience, its sermons ringing from the stone chapel, while the law protects your husband's hand. Yet, in quiet moments, you catch a neighbour's knowing glance, a shared understanding of endurance. Could such bonds, forged in hardship, be a form of love, or are they merely survival? The academic debate persists. Did this system of legalized violence destroy the chance for mutual affection, or did it force women to redefine love as resilience? You might argue that fear smothered any hope of romance, turning marriage into a prison. Or perhaps women carved out small victories, secret alliances, whispered plans that kept their spirits alive. As you stand in the doorway, the scent of rain and earth drifting in, you feel the weight of a world that punishes love's softness. Yet, in the flicker of the firelight, you wonder if defiance, however small, could spark change. You slip through a misty forest in England, circa 1566, the air thick with the scent of damp moss and wild herbs. The witch-hunting fever grips the land, and beauty or knowledge, especially of herbs, can brand you a sorceress. Love, in this world, is a dangerous spark. A woman's charm or skill with potions risks accusations of weaving love spells. You hear whispers of Agnes Waterhouse, burned for allegedly enchanting men's hearts, her fate a warning to any who dare love too boldly. In villages across England, Germany and Switzerland, desire is tangled with fear, and you're about to see how love could be mistaken for witchcraft. You're in a market square, the chatter of vendors mixing with the tang of fresh bread and crushed lavender. You're skilled with herbs, perhaps taught by your mother to brew teas for aches or fevers. But your knowledge draws suspicious glances. Neighbours whisper that your beauty, your way with plants, might sway a man's heart unnaturally. The church fuels this paranoia, preaching that love potions are the devil's work. You tread carefully, hiding your remedies, knowing a single accusation could lead to a trial by fire. Love, here, isn't just personal. It's a public danger, scrutinized by priests and magistrates. A surprising event underscores this peril. In 1566, Agnes Waterhouse, an elderly healer in Essex, was accused of witchcraft after a young man claimed her herbal brew made him love her neighbour's daughter. The court, swayed by fear and superstition, sentenced her to burn. You imagine Agnes standing in the smoky square, her grey hair wild in the wind, her voice steady as she denied the charges. The crowd jeered, their fear of her supposed power outweighing her decades of healing. Her death, one of England's first recorded witch burnings, sent ripples of terror through villages, making women hide their skills and stifle their allure. You feel the weight of her fate, your own pulse quickening as you crush mint leaves in secret. This raises an academic question. Did witch hunts suppress women's agency in love, or did they push women to find covert ways to express it? Some historians argue that fear of accusations silenced women, forcing them to conform to rigid roles. Others suggest that women adapted, using their knowledge discreetly to navigate relationships, perhaps even gaining influence through subtle means. The debate is open-ended, leaving you to wonder if love could thrive under such suspicion. You feel the tension as you walk past a church, its bells tolling ominously, your basket of herbs hidden under your cloak. The era's paranoia extends beyond herbs. A woman's beauty, your bright eyes, your quick smile, could be evidence of sorcery. You hear of a Swiss girl, Catherine, in 1580, accused of enchanting a suitor after he fell ill with lovesickness. Her trial, filled with tales of bewitched glances, ended in exile, her family shunned. You picture her fleeing through snowy hills, the crunch of frost underfoot, her heart heavy with betrayal. The church and courts saw love as a battlefield, where women's allure was a weapon to be feared. You wonder how anyone dared to flirt, to love, when a single misstep could ignite a pyre. The sensory details of this world cling to you. The crackle of a fire in the village square, the sharp scent of burning sage meant to purify, the weight of a woolen shawl against your shoulders, all reminders of the danger lurking in everyday acts. You see women lower their eyes in public, their laughter muted, their knowledge buried. Yet, in quiet moments, you share a knowing glance with another woman, a silent pact to protect each other's secrets. Could such bonds, forged in fear, be a form of love, or were they merely survival? The church's sermons, droning from the pulpit, warn of Satan's snares, but your heart insists on its own truth. The academic debate lingers. Did the witch hunts crush romantic expression, or did they force women to redefine love as cunning and resilience? You might argue that fear silenced desire, turning women into shadows of themselves, or perhaps their secret brews and whispered alliances were acts of defiance, keeping love alive in hidden ways. As you stand in the forest, the wind carrying the scent of pine and earth, you feel the pulse of a world where love is both a gift and a curse. You're left wondering if courage, like Agnes's, could ever outshine the flames. You stand in a bustling Italian piazza, circa 1550, the air alive with the scent of fresh ink and blooming jasmine. The Renaissance is reshaping Europe, and whispers of love, once stifled by lords, church, and fear, begin to echo in poetry and song. Troubadours sing of passion, sowing seeds of marrying for love, while the Reformation and new civil laws in places like the Netherlands and England crack, open the door to choice and divorce. You're witnessing the dawn of a new era, where the heart begins to claim its place in marriage, though the old rules still linger like shadows. You're in a vibrant marketplace, and the clatter of carts and laughter of vendors filling the air. A poet strums a lute, his verses praising a lover's smile, not a lord's decree. This is new, love as a choice, not a contract. The Renaissance, with its rediscovery of classical ideas, fuels this shift. Poets like Petrarch write of unrequited love, their words spreading through printed books, stirring hearts across Italy and beyond. You feel the thrill of possibility, but the church and tradition still loom, warning against such foolish desires. In this tension, you see the slow birth of modern marriage, where affection might outweigh obligation. A surprising event captures this turning point. In 1563, in England, a merchant's daughter, Elizabeth of York, defied her father's arranged match to wed a printer she loved. Their secret marriage, sealed in a moonlit chapel, sparked scandal but also admiration. When her father disowned her, neighbours rallied, moved by her courage. Her story, spread through pamphlets, became a symbol of love's defiance, inspiring others to dream of choice. You imagine Elizabeth's trembling hands as she vowed her love, the scent of candle wax and old wood in the air, her heart racing against the weight of tradition. This raises an academic question. Did the Renaissance and Reformation truly liberate love, or did they merely shift the constraints under which it operated? Some historians argue that these changes gave couples unprecedented freedom, laying the groundwork for modern romance. Others contend that economic and social pressures still dominated, with love remaining a luxury for most. The debate is open-ended, leaving you to ponder if these early sparks of choice were revolutionary or just a fleeting rebellion. You feel the pull of both worlds as you stand in the piazza, the poet's song mingling with the toll of a church bell. The Reformation adds fuel to this shift. In Protestant regions like the Netherlands, new laws allow divorce under rare circumstances, adultery, abandonment, challenging the church's iron grip. You hear of a Dutch woman, Anna of Utrecht, who in 1580 won a divorce after proving her husband's infidelity. Her case, rare but celebrated, set tongues wagging in taverns, the taste of spiced wine sharp on your lips as you listen. Such freedoms are fragile, though. Catholic regions still forbid divorce, and even Protestant courts demand proof few can provide. Yet the idea of choice, of marrying for love, takes root, carried by traders and scholars across Europe. The sensory details of this world envelop you. The rustle of silk skirts in the piazza, the scratch of quills on parchment, the faint sweetness of oranges sold by a vendor, all signs of a world awakening. You see couples clasping hands openly, a boldness unthinkable a century ago. The church still preaches duty, its incense-heavy sermons a reminder of old constraints. But the air feels lighter, charged with possibility. You wonder if love could truly become the heart of marriage, or if power and wealth will always hold sway. The poet's voice rises, his words a quiet rebellion against the past. The academic debate persists. Did this era birth a new ideal of love? Or did it merely dress old systems in prettier words? You might argue that the Renaissance and Reformation freed hearts to choose, planting seeds that would bloom in the Enlightenment, or perhaps the changes were superficial, with most still bound by family and finance. As you linger in the piazza, the sunset painting the sky in gold and crimson, you feel the stirrings of a world where love might finally have a voice, however faint. You've journeyed through the strange world of medieval dating, from the muddy villages of England to the vibrant piazzas of Renaissance Italy. In the 14th century, peasants married under their lord's command, love a luxury buried under labour, aristocratic daughters, wed as children, sealed alliances but rarely hearts, as seen in Isabella of France's tragic union. Young girls faced deadly childbirth, while second sons were forced into celibacy, their dreams sacrificed. The church policed intimacy, branding lust a sin, while the Black Death made every kiss a risk. Husbands wielded legal violence, and women's beauty could spark witchcraft accusations, like Agnes Waterhouse's burning. Yet, by the Renaissance, poetry and reform began to champion love, paving the way for choice and divorce. This evolution, from duty to desire, reshaped marriage, though constraints lingered. The sensory details, smoke, herbs, candlelight, brought each era to life, while open-ended debates asked if love could ever truly triumph. You've seen how love, defiant and resilient, slowly carved its place in a world that often fought against it.